Welcome back, everybody, and I appreciate being welcomed back myself. As many of you know, I and the family had been gone for most of spring break, which is why I didn't record a postscript last week. But I thought this would give us an opportunity to reflect a bit on the Lenten series. As you know, I attempted to describe scenes of wilderness that are familiar to us in some manner or fashion. It's not to say that we've spent extensive time in these areas, but we have some sense of what they are, and perhaps we have spent some time in either forests, swamps, deserts, or oceans. Each of these scenes constitutes both a beautiful, even magical sometimes, especially if we allow ourselves to be youthful once more, a kind of mystery, and yet they can also be frightening. They can be places that we resist going, especially when certain things have happened in our life, when we are being taxed, forced, pressed by any number of events in our world, both at a very personal level, but also collectively as a species. My hope in preaching this series is that there have been at least a number of grips for you to latch onto or scaffolds to climb up on, and perhaps to experience this Lenten season in new ways, even as we approach Palm Sunday and the big entrance into Jerusalem, which leads us to the week of Passion, Good Friday, and of course, Easter Sunday. But as I thought about this Lenten series, I've asked you a few questions, and I'll ask you a few more now. Which of these images has spoken to you most? And how? Why? Why might a forest or a swamp speak more to you than a desert, or vice versa? Why are oceans the most beautiful, impenetrable, unexplored areas of our earth, despite the fact that they cover so much of it? Part of the reason, of course, we know is that wilderness, by its definition, is a limit on our so-called mastery of the planet. Wilderness presents us with certain obstacles, what Karl Barth, the famous theologian, described as an up-againstness. That was actually Karl Barth's definition for God, the great up-againstness, which we smash against with all our hubris and arrogance. And I like to think that wilderness is very similar to this metaphorical description of God. We are in need of humility quite often. We get to doing things that we feel competent and able to do, but in the process, we forget our limitations. And I'm all about encouraging dreaming and aspiring beyond our imagination, but at the same time, I believe we are also invited consistently to live within the limits that are established by our home, this world, this planet, and by limits that are established by our neighbors, by our communities. We can't do anything we want because we are bound one to another and to all of creation. And my hope with this Lenten series is that perhaps there is some way in which you feel more connected, more covenanted with this earth, especially wilderness areas, because they have much to teach us, not only about our reliance, our complete dependence on them, but about the limitations that we are invited to live with and to be in right relationship with. Sometimes it's not about overcoming our limits, but about compassionately accepting them, humbly accepting them, so that we can live in interdependence, which I do believe is the right relation that we are called to as people of faith. Thanks for giving me this chance to reflect just a little bit with you today. I hope it's been helpful for you. It has for me, and I do look forward to seeing you next week as we reflect on our Palm Sunday service. See you then.